Hi there, and thanks for coming to Roll the Dice. Our latest episode is going to be on the topic of to kill or not to kill a character and all the things surrounding it. Today we have a visiting guest on audio only, and that will be Amy. Hi, Amy.
Say hi, Amy.
Say hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Holy cow. All right, that came in loud. And we have JK, and we have Keith. So, to kill or not to kill a character. We can discuss this starting with killing a character.
Well, let's start with defining what we're talking about.
All right, go ahead.
So are we talking about in a particular instance, in a moment, do you kill a character? Or are you talking about in your campaign as a whole, is character death on the table?
And I'm going to add one more complication to this. When the DM wants to kill a character off.
What?
I've seen it happen.
Well, sure.
I don't necessarily go with that, but I have seen it happen and I've heard the complaints. So let's include that in the discussion as well today.
And player preferences, too.
Right. And we're going to go with some views of people who have been in my campaigns and have died.
Multiple times.
Or we'll also go with Amy, who is a brand new player, as of just joining in about,
Last
3 or
year.
4 months ago, last year. So we'll get a new player perspective who hasn't seen a character death yet.
Oh, you haven't had a character die yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. She's killed off some people,
Yeah.
but,
I can say from my own perspective as a player that I like the possibility of my characters dying. It adds an interesting, tension to the game.
Mhm.
And some games you want to take risks, and if you die, you're just going to have to be prepared for that.
Right.
And that's fine with me. But I know some players would, they get really invested in their character.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost seems alive to them, and if it dies, they're just devastated.
Right. Well, and there's some games that death is a part of it. You play Paranoia, you've got 7 clones. You're gonna die. That's just part of what the
And I
game
remember
is.
when we
Right, that's part of that specific game.
And the superhero game that we're all running in, superheroes are like soap operas, right? The characters never truly go away. You could put one through a meat grinder, and that guy's coming back somehow, right?
Yeah. And so yes, it depends a little bit on genre, right?
Yeah, I think so.
On the
Tunnels and Trolls.
Tunnels and Trolls. What
I
about
remember
Tunnels and
when
Trolls?
we played that last,
Uh-huh.
we're like, okay, make several characters
Yeah,
because you're going to die probably several times. And
Yep.
it was fun because, when the wall crashes down on you in that clever trap,
You're right.
oh, well, time, pull out the next character.
Yep. And bing, you just pop into the scenario. Yes.
But in general, everything else being equal,
Mhm.
I agree with JK. I want those stakes.
I do too.
I
If
think
there's no
it
risk.
adds, well, yeah, it adds a little more gravity to every situation.
And there are those players out there though that just want to smash the thing, know that they are victorious, they are the great hero, and they don't ever want to have anything negative happen to their character. And they're doing that a lot of times because they're trying to live out something in their lives. They've got something at stake where they need to feel like they're the hero, they're the center. Nothing can stop them.
Sure,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely nothing wrong. with it.
There's no bad, wrong fun.
Nope. No bad, wrong fun.
I'm
So-
thinking about the last Tolus game that we played,
Mm-hmm.
or the one before, I guess. So I'm playing this Minotaur Paladin.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the way the Minotaur thinks, these big evil guys came along and they wanted the artifacts that he was carrying. But because he was a paladin, he didn't want these evil people to get hold of these powerful artifacts, so he was willing to risk his life
Yep.
to try to hide them, and they killed him.
Yep.
He was up against incredible stakes, and he didn't quite realize how big of those stakes were.
Right.
And he was slaughtered. But he was brought back to life by the other characters who
Right.
had him resurrected. But I, as a player, I'm like, oh, well, my Minotaur's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's a cool character, but it's time to get another one.
Right.
And to my surprise, hey, I get to keep playing.
Yeah, the party came together and raised all the money necessary because you're in a high fantasy game where there's high magics and there's resurrection is not an unheard of thing.
Now, you were the
it's
DM,
expensive.
though. Did you fudge it? Come on. Tell
No.
the truth. No?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was a little shocked at how powerful the thing was that was coming your direction.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't expecting us to go to a combat. I expected you guys to realize that you were outmanned, outgunned, and outclassed.
It was a stupid decision on my Minotaur's part.
It was,
I guess
but-
you could say my part.
But I don't think it was a stupid decision. It was a decision based off of the values and the perspective and the desires of the character itself, right? You will give everything to save a life, to bring people to justice, and to serve your God.
Mhm.
And you saw this as a moment of, I don't care what happens to me, you're not getting this stuff.
If I'd been playing my thief, he
Yeah.
would have immediately just thrown down his weapons and like, I give up.
Yeah. Right?
So
Or run
that
away.
character death makes sense
Yes.
to that character and is in fitting with who he is and what
What
he
he
thinks
is. Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Let's say instead, if your Minotaur had been walking across a bridge and he slipped and fell off to his
Right.
death,
Right?
as a GM, do you do that?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
Do you let a character die a meaningless death?
I
I think
have
it's funny.
I have done it a couple of times. Like, for instance, your wife.
Yeah.
Right? Great story, worth repeating. I don't remember all of it anymore, but
It's been a while.
she just failed a save at the wrong time,
Mhm.
I think it was, and she took a lot of damage and she died. And in that particular game, there is no resurrection, right?
Right.
You can journey on as a spirit in the dead world, but nobody ever explored that. And I feel bad to this day about killing off your wife's character. Your wife liked it because she could stop playing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
She didn't enjoy playing.
Well, yeah, she wants to do other things, and
She-
she was playing it
she-
because of him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she did and did not enjoy it.
Right.
I think there are other games she would enjoy more.
Sure.
With different themes.
Different themes, like maybe the Roaring Twenties Art Noir game that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I
So-
think it'd be hilarious if I got a character up very high levels and he just happened to slip and fall down a cliff and die. I think it'd be funny.
I think as a GM, I look at
The inglorious death.
well, I look at the emotional impact that the story is going to have on people, and having a character die a senseless death, something that is just happenstance, is one closer to real life. Right? You hiking through the mountains in dangerous areas with cliffs, somebody can fall off and die. They do it all the time, right?
Yeah.
People hiking through the mountains. So having something that just randomly happens and you happen to blow it adds a little bit of realism to the story, I think.
Does that add too much?
It might. And
Is-
it depends
is
on
there-
the player.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
can say that games of this sort, like D&D, is supposed to be, more of a high fantasy. You want glorious combat and death and so forth. And
Right.
yeah, I can see that.
But the story, to me and to many of my players, is more important. And what I've done in the past is, if that's going to happen, I go out to the garage with the player and have a private powwow
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, technically your character just died. Do you want to let this roll, or shall I find a way to save you? And in the case of falling down a cliff, yes, you fell off the cliff, but you managed to grab some vines on the way down or something, and you're now 200 feet down this cliff on this little narrow ledge, and it starts raining, and now how are the characters going to get you out? So we can turn that into a full, really cool scenario that was completely unplanned for. And that can create a wonderful opportunity for new role-playing and new problem-solving that you didn't expect.
Right. Amy, thoughts?
Well, then you also have people who decide that they want to kill off their character, so they're going to do something incredibly stupid
Or heroic.
and
Or heroic.
well, or heroic. And then you have the other members of the party that don't know what you're doing and refuse to get on the hammer
Yeah, our other friend Keith,
Because-
right? Superhero game.
yes. Yeah, he was ready. He was like, I'm kind of done with this guy. So you guys get away and
But your character went and saved him anyways,
Whatever.
right? So he kept
yeah,
going.
no, I refused to leave.
Which made sense for
So-
your character, right? Your character's mindset. You weren't. She
Yes.
wasn't the sort who would just leave someone to die in battle.
No, definitely not. And I mean, the same thing kind of happened with Enigma, where she just refused
Right.
to let him die.
Now on a GM
So if you,
on a GM side on that, with that situation with Captain Enigma, where it was a trap, and I did not expect anybody to attack the hologram that was cast over their friend Captain Enigma. I didn't expect that to happen, and you know, his Captain Enigma's best friend, Captain Chrome, comes charging in, sees that he's there, and just goes full
Thinking it was the arch-villain.
right,
Because of an illusion.
and just attacks with everything he's got and kills Captain Enigma with a lot of extra damage that he couldn't take. And I was content with him dying there. Why? Because it was an awesome scene.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the
It was
look on your face when the hologram died and you see pieces of Captain
was
Enigma
gory.
there. It was gross. And, you know, the look on your face made it worth it for my character death.
But
Hands
Amy's
down.
character had a skill or a special ability that we didn't think could be used that way, and
Right.
it turns out she was creative and used it to piece him back together, flesh golem style.
Right.
Now, I think it'd be great if you had a character you want to change characters, you want this character to die for whatever reason. You feel
Sure.
like, you know, their story is at an end, you're tired
Mhm.
of playing them, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great if you came to the entire table, GM and players,
Oh,
and
interesting.
said, let's get together and give this character a epic, meaningful death. And you work together to create a scene together.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never honestly thought about bringing the other players into.
I've
talk
never
on it.
done it, but I think it would be great because if you have everybody on board agreeing, then you're not going to have, you know, the one holdout refusing to let the other player die.
Right. Like we have there, yeah.
Of course, you don't have to have a character die in order to stop playing them.
No, of course not.
No.
Of course
but
not.
sometimes that's what they want.
I had a
They
player
really
one
want the
time who-
dramatic death.
Their fighter decided he was going to become a silversmith
Yes.
in
Yep.
the character and on to the next one.
Yeah,
Right.
you can absolutely retire a character.
Retired his life of adventure.
I've done that many times, especially with characters that I thought were going to be okay, and then it just didn't quite sit right. Or I see an idea that somebody had, or found something. It's like I really want to try that,
But that's a different topic.
but that's a different topic.
Well,
yes.
yeah, you had that dwarf who had been through the ringer, was burned miserably,
Really?
and he's like, "Okay, this is the end of my adventure."
Yeah. Well, he'd been lit on fire 4 times, 3 of them by his own party. You know, it's.
Amy, I see that face you're making. And you were one of those
Hey.
players.
I'm only one of the players that didn't catch him on fire. So.
Oh, I thought you did.
Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I did the very first time because I lit all the webs on fire.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Poor Chuz
Yeah.
the dwarf.
Yes. So
Sorry.
you know.
But yeah,
He
for the
should have
purposes
died.
of this conversation, you know, you want your epic hero to die an epic death,
Yeah.
an epic, meaningful death.
Or I would go myself. I would go for the senseless, meaningless death.
Whichever one you want.
Because of the dramatic effect it will have on the group. You know, the story. Here it is. They're doing these great things. They're helping all these great people. They're doing heroic stuff, and then he dies because he ate a piece of pizza and choked to death on it or something. You know, I mean, just this senseless thing that's going to live on in that story even more than a character dying an honorable or big epic death. That will be one thing, but when it's something that's tragic and stupid and that they die, I
Right.
think it lends itself to a bigger memorial moment.
Right.
And
But
maybe
yeah,
that's-
but
maybe that's just me.
if you came back to the whole table and you're like, I want Bob
Right.
to die a senseless,
Right.
you know, meaningless death, you know, let's figure that out.
Right. And I did that with coming to the whole table once. I don't think you were there, strangely enough, and said, I want one of you to die. for the storyline.
Really?
I want one of you to die for the storyline.
Mm.
Who wants to give up the ghost? And one of them said, yeah, hell, I'll do it. I like to play a lot of different kind of characters. Yeah, let me do
Some
it.
people just like making new characters.
Well,
Which
and
is cool.
And I did it to tie in the story and the players together because the players were becoming a bit incohesive.
Mm.
And by giving this moment where they're all involved and now they've got this emotional thing that hits all of them, it kind of brought them back together in a more cohesive manner.
So it's storytelling.
So it's storytelling.
Death for the sake of
Yeah.
storytelling.
Oh, and when I went to talk to all of them, I didn't talk to them all at the same time. I talked to them all in private over the course of 2 weeks so that they wouldn't know.
So let's say that you're starting a brand new campaign
Mm-hmm.
and your players are getting together and you're doing kind of the, safety tools,
Sure.
the speech and the whole bit. And there's one person who really does not want character death.
Then I don't do it.
For whatever reason.
As a pro GM, especially, I will stick to the safety tools. If something's going to really bother this player, I'm not going to do it. And I'll make it clear to everybody at the beginning, no character deaths on this, right? Just because the safety tools are important.
Yeah.
Now with you guys in my normal, free game, I'll screw you over any way I can. I'll get you.
And instead of dying, they get down to 1 hit point,
Yeah.
or they're unconscious.
You fudge the rolls and do
coma
whatever you do.
or whatever.
Right.
They can manage to drag them on the litter back to town to get them resurrected. Whatever.
Right.
There's always some plot twist, and the game system matters too.
Oh yeah.
In
Mhm.
D&D,
Yeah, absolutely.
statistics rule, and if you die, it's much easier to die, I think, and it depends. But anyway,
It certainly can be.
and
I would disagree.
but
in-
some game systems are driven more toward your character continues living.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In D&D, you have magical healing, you have healing potions,
You have
you have
resurrection.
resurrection.
You have 5 different types of resurrection
Right.
that you can do in D&D.
Yeah, it is geared for you not to die.
Mm.
But when your group is just starting out, resurrections are out of reach. Right?
Yes.
Costs 1,000, 1,500 gold for the most simplest form of resurrection.
No, there's a cost.
But you
to-
can mitigate those costs with, I'll do a quest for your temple. I'll do,
Right.
whatever.
But
it
well,
takes.
that's still a cost.
Yeah, it's still a cost.
That in D&D there's a cost. There are some games where you're just, because of whatever, you're not going to have character death, and
Right. And Earthdawn-
it plays it off a different way.
There's no resurrection in Earthdawn.
Right.
And so all of the characters, we had 2, maybe 3 characters die in the course of a 3 or 4 year campaign, I think. Or was it more than that? Did I kill off more than that?
I don't remember.
I don't like killing off characters, so I don't keep track of them very much.
Right.
But, some systems just say flat out, there's no resurrections. The game world itself doesn't allow it, right? For whatever metaphysical reasons that they have.
Well, yeah, and that's part of some games. Some games are purposefully exceedingly deadly.
Right. Right.
And I've been hoping, I still haven't done it yet, but I've been hoping to run a horror campaign. And I think, whichever game system we use for that, it's going to be harder to be resurrected, and it's going to be easier to die.
Can I be the second one to die?
I'll make that happen.
Okay,
for
thank
you,
you,
Dave.
thank you. There you
Yeah.
go. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be number 2, not number 1.
No.
Not number 1.
Okay, you'll know your time is up when someone dies.
But I will tell you, I am not going to the basement if green fog is rolling out of it. Just saying. So, what other aspects of killing off a character have we not talked about?
Well, I think that about
I
covers
think
it.
that covers it.
You have anything else, Amy?
Oh yeah, the brand new player perspective. That's
of
what we
course,
forgot.
yes.
Yes.
Right. What I can say is, I want to disagree with you a little bit, Dave.
No, please do.
Because I love to do that. It's my favorite thing. Where your position, and I love this about you so much, but your position is, if one player isn't okay with character deaths, then you're not going to have them.
Right.
And I would argue that at that point, maybe you're not the GM for them. Because if the rest of your group finds value in it, I can tell you that with superheroes, it's not like we have the ability to. We don't have potions, we don't have stim packs, or whatever it is that you would want to equate to that.
Right.
And so there is a very real possibility of those characters dying and not being able to be resurrected. And I
Right.
think that really adds to it as opposed to detracting from it. So at least for me, if I was in a group where I knew that my character couldn't die, it would have to be an outlandish, joking hilarity
So you
instead
want the
of
possibility.
a high fantasy.
Most of the players that I play with would like the risk. They want to have that tension, right? And one thing you said, Amy, about my style, that's more about the group dynamic. If the group dynamic wants a character death and one character doesn't, it's not about the GM being the wrong for the group. It's maybe the player isn't right for this particular group. But as a DM, I'm going to take that on my shoulders. I don't want the player to feel like they're not welcome at my table, right? And so that's worth an open discussion for everybody. I mean, maybe that person had a suicide in their life, or they just lost their father or mother or brother or something, right? Then, they don't want to face that death in their fantasy world where they're getting escape from that crap, right? So having the table talk about it, because when you're sitting there gaming with each other, it is an intimate setting, right? I mean, with degrees, of course, but you get to know each other pretty well. You get to know their personalities. You get to know the person on many different levels than you would if you just had a casual relationship at work with them or something. So it's more in depth. And so I think because of that, it's worthwhile to do what Keith said. Talk with the table. Is everyone comfortable with this?
So, Amy, you've been playing the character Nito in the superhero game for quite a while. How would you feel if she died in the next session? No.
Yeah, you try, Dave. I think that there are. I don't know. I really like Nito. I'm very connected to Nito. And the funny thing is that Iridian is a character that I've actually played a little bit longer. My bard.
Mm-hmm.
And if she died, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Screw you, Dave.
But Nito is different. And I don't know exactly how to describe it.
You were just saying that you like in the superhero game that there's the risk of death, but now you're saying, well, maybe I feel differently about my character in that game, right?
Well, no, I'm not saying that I think that we shouldn't have death be an option. I'm saying that it would have, it would have a toll. It would have oh, ow, that hurts. That is, someone that I have known very intimately. And so I would be losing them, and one of the personalities in my head would be gone. So I'd have to create a new one.
And that's the upside to character death, is then you get to make a new character.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And then sometime we'll talk about the one game or a grab bag of different games, right? Some players want to have one character and that's all they want to do is play this one forever in this game, and then others are like, oh, I don't mind finding out new systems. Well, sometimes character death leads to, all right, well, my character's dead. How about we try a different game next week? Let me get over my character death. Let's try something completely different for a little while.
Yeah,
and then come back to it.
Yeah, or it also maybe forces you to explore something different that you haven't before.
Right, which is the best part of the role-playing games, I think, is extending yourself beyond your normal norms. Normal norms?
Maybe redundant.
It may be redundant, yes.
I don't know. With us, abnormal norms seem more pertinent.
Ain't that the truth? I'm not sure I understand it, but I think I agree.
But yeah, I agree with you. I really enjoy exploring characters that are different than I am, that have different beliefs and different, core values, maybe even than I have.
And that's a result of, I think, well, one, just a person's personality, but it's also the experience of the player. When you've played for a number of years, it's not as impactful, right? I mean, you got extra. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Are you saying that you've lost so many characters? You've had so many characters that the individual character is not necessarily that important to you anymore?
No, I think it's more of I like the next game too. And so if I lose a character, but I know we can go ahead and start playing another game, I got 220 in my collection. You've got me beat with how many you have. There's a lot of games out there I have not tried.
I have 762 books.
That's a lot. I'm probably close to the number of books, just not close to the number of different game systems now. But
so
yeah,
is that all that we wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Amy, any last comments about dying or killing off a character that you can think of?
If you kill off one of my characters, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And I think that is, it adds a level of stakes, and sometimes that's what you need.
Sure.
You need that level.
We play games because we want the challenge generally, right? When you play a game against somebody else or with somebody else, there's a chance of losing. And it's that chance of losing that lends the game some emotional take, right? If you're always going to win, boring as heck,
I think. What do you think? So
put some comments down.
Please give a comment and let us know if you had some characters die, how did you react to that, and what are your general feelings on character deaths in role-playing?
Right. As a DM, completely avoided character deaths, and how does that make you feel? Does it detract from the overall setting and add a degree of unrealism to it that takes away some of the fun?
And if you're a game master, how do you handle it?
Right. Yeah, leave us, go ahead and follow us. Leave us some comments. We'll be sure to get back to you on it. Anything from you?
No, I think that was good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Roll the Dice, and we'll see you next week. Bye. All right. That's a wrap.